the world becomes a better place every time Russian minister steals money from Russian military budget. Isn't that obvious?
More villas, more villas in Italy, less rockets striking Ukraine. Hey, the guy from our investigation has been arrested.
Hey, Hitler, Goebbels is stealing from you. The gas chambers are not not getting enough Zyklon B.
Crazy. There's no
it's big brain
oligarchs.
time. It's big brain time.
It's impossible. There's a common misconception that there's such thing as Russian opposition, which is against Putin, against Russian regime, and against Russian war in Ukraine, and which should be on Ukrainian kind of side against Russia, right? Against Russian regime, against Russian war. But somehow it's not like that. Yulia Navalnaya, the widow of recently deceased Alexey Navalny, the leader of so-called Russian opposition, has recently become the one of 100 most influential people by Times, and even got the reference by the Vice President of the United States, Kamala Harris, in on the pages of Times. But there's a slight problem with that.
Slight
and
small. There's this little misconception, and Russian opposition constantly gets offended by the fact, like, why don't Ukrainians like us? Why do they always criticize us? We're against Putin. We're nice guys. We're not Putin. That automatically makes us good guys, right?
The problem is they are not only not pro-Ukrainian enough or whatever. They are actually pro-Russian too much. They are Russian opposition, but they are fighting Russian corruption in Russia, which is helping Russian regime, which sounds crazy, I know.
The thing is, something that we've been trying to explain to people for the longest time now is, if you are really, wanting Russia to get better, if you want Russia to be a better country, a prosperous country, a democratic country, as the opposition claims, to want, what you have to do is you have to go and advocate for Ukraine to win. It's very obvious. The only way Russia is going to get better if Russia is going to lose the war. This is very obvious, but this is very difficult to comprehend for some certain Russian nationalists who are in fact Russian opposition. So they think you can both win the war against Ukraine and become a democratic, nice Russia the West wants it to become, which is an oxymoron. It's impossible. A democracy and a good, not corrupt Russia is not able and shouldn't be able to win over Ukraine. But this conundrum and this idea is somehow very difficult for Russian opposition to comprehend. And what they don't understand is that when they help Russian state battle corruption, especially inside military structures, they help Russia win war against Ukraine, which makes Russia automatically an undemocratic aggressor state that kills people and does genocide, which is not what they claim they want Russia to be. And this concept is unconceivable, unfathomable for people like Yulia Navalnaya. No. It's impossible.
Well, their foundation to fight corruption, right? That's in their name. That's how Navalny became popular. That's how Navalny became the main guy in Russian opposition. And when Navalny died, they continued doing these investigations. And what they did recently, they investigated the deputy minister of defense of Russia and found that he steals money from Russia's defense industry.
Crazy. Russian minister steals money.
which is probably horrible for Russian Ministry of Defense and Russian war machine. And foundation to fight corruption.
But it's great for the world. The world becomes a better place every time Russian minister steals money from Russian military budget. Isn't that obvious?
More villas in Italy, less rockets striking Ukraine. That's our motto. And you never believe what happens next. So what happens next is Russian regime fires this deputy director and puts him into prison. And the guy who actually damaged Russian war effort. And
And now
Yeah,
everybody's
Maria.
celebrating and happy to have this achievement. It's so they virtually made Russian army better and more effective by firing a corrupt politician, a corrupt, not the politician, but the corrupt administrator. And
Yeah, and what
somehow this is an achievement.
and Maria Pevchik, who's like, well, who's kind of a leader of the operations of this foundation by Navalny's, she's happy about it, and she writes, "Hey, the guy from our investigation has been arrested." We are
So it's like
happy
Putin
about
is
it.
cooperating with the civil society. Isn't that
Isn't that democratic
ridiculous?
and great and just
Yeah.
perfect? Russia can be democratic and great. You're wrong, Melania. Russia can be good and democratic and great, even killing Ukrainians and committing genocide just across
They're
the border.
so effective at killing Ukrainians. Wow. It brings me back to one of the very first encounters made, of my encounters with Russian opposition online, is when I think it was also Marina Pevchik who said something along the lines of, our poor soldiers, they don't get enough pay, they don't get enough supplies, and they freeze there in Donbass, in Ukraine. We should, Russian Ministry of Defense keep stealing resources from our military. And I go, are you for real right now? Is this the concern? So, well, we have to care about our soldiers. So you want them to
it's
be
our boys.
yeah, you want them to be fed and supplied with ammo enough to kill more Is this what you want? Is this the point? What is this?
This is there's another investigation when Navalny was still alive, was in prison. There's another investigation. So they found corruption on the missile production.
У вас есть знакомые, которые работают прямо в корпорации «Тактическое вооружение». У них предприятия есть и в Дубне, и в Рязани, в Таганроге, в Смоленске. Покажите им это видео. Спросите, сколько они зарабатывают. 40 тысяч, 50, и это если повезет. А дочь их директора в перерыве между ароматерапией покупает себе Порше и Хаммеры. Я уже даже не упоминаю квартиру.
They found inefficiencies in Russian building of. That's what they do now. That's what the Russian anti-corruption foundation is doing now. That's the Russian opposition. And you might think, okay, well, imagine Nazi Germany, 1942 or something.
Okay.
And the opposition to Hitler's regime, and they're like, so okay now. This guy,
not even
Goebbels,
you can say like Jews that were ousted and who left Germany, the Third Reich, are sitting somewhere and are like, look, hey Hitler, Goebbels is stealing from you. The gas chambers are not getting enough Zyklon B.
Yeah. You can use another chemical to do that. This chemical is corrupt because so they buy this chemical from their friends. There is another chemical which much more effective in killing Jews, and you can buy this from another plant which is not your friends, but
so
it's better
because we care about Germany,
and we care about corruption in Germany, right?
Yes, we want the taxpayers' money of the Third Reich Germans to go to an effective means of killing Jews. This is exactly what it is, and they're proud.
Again, it's not a position of Ukrainian international television.
No, it's
don't take these words.
No,
out of
it's a so-called metaphor. It's a so-called metaphor here. Anyway, this is exactly what it looks like when Russian opposition criticizes Russia for misuse of funds to build rockets. It's virtually like some Jews would literally accuse Hitler of being insufficient with Zyklon B. Like, this is exactly what it is. And you know what? They're proud of it. They're parading it on Twitter.
It's
like
impossible.
Because of us, this corrupt guy was fired. You see, we are real politicians. We influence things in Russia. Jesus Christ, this is so pathetic.
And the worst thing is, since they are anti-Putin, right? They are considered the Russian opposition, the hope for Russian democracy or something like that. Biden recently have Yulia Navalnaya and her daughter in the White House. They praised her, like, look at this great woman, courageous woman fighting for democracy in Russia. And I cannot name like a single thing Yulia Navalnaya did for fighting for democracy in Russia in recent 10 or 20 years, but at least in recent
She stood in
3
line.
months.
She stood in
After-
line and took a bunch of
even-
pictures. Sad pictures. She was sad.
Yeah, but even after Navalny's death. So we know
We should give
the
her
main
like a
thing-
Nobel Peace Prize for that picture.
Yeah, we could actually. Why not?
Yeah, might as well.
It's,
you know.
it's not even. We should do one for you as well. I like. I think it would suit you. But anyway,
Yes. Yeah, I take nice pictures. War bad, peace good. Where's my Nobel?
So yeah, Yulia Navalnaya made a speech right after Navalny's death, after she got the message, and guess it was in a Munich security conference, and guess how many times she mentioned Ukraine? 0. Then Yulia Navalnaya goes to European Parliament. She's not in shock anymore. She prepared a long speech about Ukraine, about Russia and everything. Guess how much of Ukraine there was? One sentence or something.
The whole world rushed to Ukraine's aid, but 2 years passed. There is much exhaustion, much blood, much disappointment, and Putin has gone nowhere. Everything has already been used. Weapons, money, sanctions, nothing is working. And the worst has happened. Everyone got used to the war. Here and there people start to say, well, we'll have to come to an agreement with Putin anyway. And then Putin killed my husband.
And it's not even like we should help Ukraine fight Russia or something like that. No, it's like the war is going nowhere, Ukraine is losing, and that's it. And then she goes talking about her husband, and that's it. But then she meets Joseph Biden. Then she gets top 100 by economists because she's anti-Putin, right? Makes total sense.
Just very logical. Very logical.
And it's not even like it's not that we are like sour or something like that about because she's Russian or something like that. No, it's just because they are not actually anti-Putin. There is another case, and it's a great case. There is a guy, Leonid Volkov, who's one of the leaders of Foundation of Corruption.
Foundation of Corruption.
Foundation of Russian Corruption, whatever fucking name in English it is. FBK. This guy, Leonid Volkov, in 2022, he signed the letter to European Union to ask European Union to lead the sanctions from 2 Russian oligarchs, Friedman and Aven, who were considered anti-Putin but still Russian oligarchs, which is you should understand. It sounds crazy. There's no anti-Putin
big brain
oligarchs.
Time. It's big brain time.
It's impossible. So he signs this letter, then he defends it. He says that, you know what, I want more guys running from Russia, running to Europe. We don't need to sanction them. We need to welcome these oligarchs because they can become anti-Putin or whatever. Guess what happens next? In 2023, first of all, these guys go back to Russia.
Sure.
And second of all, some sanctions are getting lifted from them, actually.
So it's both killing...
So it's both. They're going back to Moscow. They're
and
going
no
back
sanctions.
And they get no sanctions.
This is
and I
great.
wonder, this is FBK. This is Russian Foundation Against Corruption for whatever fucking
Russian
name it is.
Foundation for manufacturing rockets that kill Ukrainians more effectively. Free Navalny.
And that's not even it. There's this guy. He was he's an ambassador. He was an ambassador to Russian Federation during the most turbulent time, kind of during Obama times. Makval. And when Navalny died, hi Mr. Makval, if Yeah, so when Navalny died, Mr. Magwal, and he represents the big chunk of American elites and these
It's
Obama
literally the
thought
guy.
of international relations.
His most famous quote is excellent sanctions work.
Sanctions work. It's our favorite.
Then they don't. And then I love to post that quote of his under every single news about how Western parts for military equipment were found in Russian rockets and Russian missiles and whatnot sent to Ukraine. Every time I go, excellent sanctions work. This guy, yeah.
Yeah, so Ambassador Magwal posts fundraising for a Russian FBK, Foundation to Fight Corruption in Russia. And he posts it 5 times or something. I didn't count. But every time a lot of people come and ask, why do you post it? How does it help? Why don't you post the fundraising for Ukrainian drones or something like that to actually fight Russians, to actually fight Russian invasion? But no. This represents the understanding of this very simplistic understanding, even from the people who know about Russia much more than the average Joe, right? Even from the people who rule the U.S. relations with Russia, even from the people who rule United States national security, like President of the United States, Joseph Biden. This weird understanding that there is some kind of another Russia, another people which could actually lead a democratic Russia and stop the war in Ukraine and whatever thing, and we should invest our time and resources and we should make them public so they could then, I don't know, fight to leave sanctions from Russian oligarchs or whatever, or fight to leave sanctions from Russians, or let Russians to come to Europe freely and blow up ammo in Europe.
No, just wipe Novichok on every single doorknob in Europe and be happy with it. Listen, it's been a long time position of the host of this channel. If there is a person or people who want to be the future of a democratic and prosperous free Russia, free of Putin and corruption, the best thing you can do as a Russian is lobby and advocate for more lethal weapons for Ukraine. So Ukraine wins the war, Putin loses, his cronies lose, and then you can go and do your stuff. It's pointless to do anything else. You have nothing else to do. You can only make Russian military better because you're going to find corruption there and they're going to fix it. And Russian missiles and Russian cruise missiles and jets and all of that will be made more effectively, and this war will never end and more Ukrainians will die, and this will be on your conscience.
Yeah, and there are actually lots of good Russians, right? We always make jokes about good Russians, and
approximately 300,000 at this point.
Yeah, I actually found this. There's actually a historic reference to that. There was a common joke in 1940s about good Germans. It's not even it's in Wikipedia. You could go there and read about that. But anyway, Wikipedia, whatever. So there are great Russians who fight on the Ukrainian side, who fight against Russian, Putin'S warriors, call them whatever you want. There are great Russians who advocate for Ukrainian military help and who donate to Ukrainian military, who would never have had a chance to come back to Russia. There are Russians who stood in Russia and helped Ukrainians who were sent to filtration camps and who were sent to Russia, people who helped them to come back, to go to Ukraine, come back to Europe or whatever. One guy recently got arrested and got the prison term for doing that. He was risking his life for that. And there are actually things, if you're a Russian, to do to help the cause, to help fight this regime, to help fight for democratic Russia or whatever your dream of it is. But it's not what these people are doing. These people are building their political capital not to rule Russia, and careers, not to rule Russia, not to do anything about it. No, they do this for grifting and to go visit Biden, go visit European Parliament, and stay in Europe, live in Europe, their happy lives, do money on YouTube channels, and this thing about corruption is not even because they're bad people. That's because they don't know anything else, how to do anything else, right? So they do this. They don't even think that it like damages something or helps something. They don't
it's
care.
in their best interest that Russia remains the way it is right now, so they forever will be confined to the inconvenience of living in the Western world full of comfort and money paid to them by the, grateful people who think they're about to do something. It's actually difficult to fix a country, so it's their best interest not to do so. And this is something that you should keep in mind whenever you repost a next pathetic attempt of Russian opposition to pretend like they're civil society. That's impossible.
Yeah, thank you very much. Hope it was
insightful.
Insightful.
Please
Great.
Subscribe. Leave a
Ukrainians
comment.
around the television.
Yes, send this video to some group of Russian oppositioners who will come and argue with us in the comments here.
And actually, and you will be more useful to fight Russian regime than Yulia Navalnaya.
Yeah, we will see you next week. Bye.
Bye.